Parallel and perpendicular lines. Here we have three straight lines graphed on this grid here. First one is y equals x plus 4. The second one is right here, y equals x. And the third one right here is y equals x minus 2. So what do we notice right away from these lines? They are all parallel to each other. They're all parallel to each other. So what we can see here from their equation is they all have y equals x, x, x. So they all have 1 as their slope, right? We can check this. Rise 1 over run 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. They all have the same slope. So what we say is parallel lines will always have the same slope. Here we can see y equals 4x minus 2, and right away, because it has the same slope as this equation, y equals 4x, we can say that they're parallel. And these two lines are parallel to this line because this one is y equals 4x plus 10, and this one also has the same slope. So, same slope, the lines are parallel. Now let's investigate lines A and B here. They are not parallel. Right? As we can see, they're definitely not parallel. So first, let's get the equation of the lines to dig a little deeper and see if we can find something out here. So line A, the intercept is here at -7. Okay, and the slope we can get from rise over run, we go up 2 over 1. So that means the slope here is 2, positive 2. So for line A, right? So for line A, y equals 2x minus 7. We got that from the intercept and the slope. Now let's look at line B. The y-intercept here is right -2. And the slope, let's look at it over here. Okay, so if we start here, we go down 1 over 2. So that means we're going -1, and then our run is 2. So the slope will actually be -1 over 2. So the equation for B is y equals -1 over 2x, and the intercept is -2. Okay, so what we can see here is these lines are actually, they cross and they make an angle with each other of 90 degrees. And so we call that perpendicular. So these lines, line A is perpendicular to line B. And so what do we note if they were parallel? We know that the slopes would be the same. So if we had a line parallel to A, where the slope is 2, then we could have another line over here, perfectly parallel, and the slope for that one would also be 2. And we could do the same thing for B. If we had one parallel to B, we could draw a line and the slope would be -1/2. But what we see here is that A has y equals 2 as the slope. The slope of A is 2, and the slope of B is -1/2. Okay, those seem somewhat related. Okay, so the slope of A is 2, the slope of B is -1/2. And these happen to be perpendicular. What we note is that if two lines A and B are perpendicular, such as the last case, their slopes are negative reciprocals of one another. So that means the slope of B equals -1 over the slope of A. So we can go back to our equation here. The slope of B, which is 2, equals -1 over the slope of A. Okay, so if they're parallel, the slope is the same. If they're perpendicular, the slope is a negative reciprocal. So let's say I had line B, and the slope of line B was 1/3. Okay, that's the slope of B. So if my line was parallel to B, right, if it was parallel, then the slope would also be 1/3. Now, if it's a perpendicular line to B, the slope will be a negative reciprocal of 1/3. So that in this case is -3. So, with all these in mind, let's take line A, which has an equation y equals 3x plus 2. And we'll write down a possible equation for line B that is perpendicular. All right, so the slope of line A is 3. The slope for line A is 3. So if it's perpendicular, okay, so the slope for line B, what we'll do is we take 3, we write 1 over 3, okay, that's the reciprocal, 1 over the original value, and then we make it negative. Okay, so if the slope for A is 3, then to be perpendicular, you have the negative reciprocal. So this is the slope for B. So we can now say y equals negative 1 over 3x, and now we just need a y-intercept. Well, we just need a possible equation, so the y-intercept can be anything. Whatever you like, we can say the y-intercept is 5. So there's an equation for a line that is perpendicular to line A, and there was the equation for line A, y equals 3x plus 2. And you can see 3 is a negative reciprocal of negative 1/3.